And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Thank you for making us a part of your Wednesday. Oh, that means we've got What You Got Wednesday coming up today. I've got an idea for it.
Oh, good. I had one last week, and I was going to send it to myself or send it to one of you guys, and I forgot, and now I can't remember it because I'm an idiot.
It happens.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about how many great ideas we've probably had for that, and then we forget?
Yeah.
Oh, I think 99% of my great ideas in general, and not that I have any more than the next guy, but like just go out the window and are never to be thought of again.
Yeah.
Don't you ever have that thought when you're driving to work or whatever, and you're like, oh, man, that is going to be great for the show. That's a great take by me. And then as soon as I sit down in this chair, it's like, I don't know.
I can't remember.
I got nothing.
Something happened. Jake talked about Pat McAfee, and
yeah, it's in one ear and out the other.
Wildly.
So, yeah, I probably most people are that way. Like somebody driving to work has had life 1,000% figured out, like all of the answers in a row. And 5 minutes later, because they got distracted by a sports update or something, it's like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's gone. And that was never to be shared with anybody ever again.
That's what we're here for.
What is that, a bubblegum commercial? And then it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Personal, was it Library of Alexandria, right? They burned it down and had set the world back hundreds of years, if not thousands. It's like, yeah, everyone has their own memories that would have pushed things forward. And you erase it and you're like, well, gone forever, I guess.
Wasn't that the Middle Ages? What was the age that came before the Dark Ages? Wasn't it? I mean, it was an age of an incredible progress, and then the Dark Ages just set everybody back for centuries to come. It took the Renaissance to break out of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I wouldn't know what was before the Dark Ages.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But I think it was the Romans or something. It was a time of incredible progress.
The classical era.
Yeah, there you go.
Preceded the Dark Ages. Per homework.study.com.
Let me ask you this. What era of NBA basketball set basketball? What were the Dark Ages of NBA
2000.
basketball?
There are 2000s for sure. We got
Like
into
the
this weird
aughts?
ISO, high scoring, low efficiency. That the
So,
3-point
like
shot is the age of enlightenment
So
that brought
the
everything forward.
AI, Steph Marbury,
yeah.
Steve Francis.
Yep.
See, I think we're going back to that a little bit, which is depressing.
Which you can perfect it, but a lot of times can I say bastardize? I'm going to. Sometimes you take something that works, you mimic it, and you don't realize that you're not mimicking the right part of it. Right? You see whatever the best players of the late 90s, and you say, Jordan was a great scorer and averaged 30 points a game. So you start trying to find guys who score 30 points a game. And what you realize is you're ignoring all the things that made Jordan a 30-point per game scorer, and you value just the number and not the process.
Which also still exists.
Oh, absolutely.
today.
It still does. Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people would tell you the 90s were the Dark Ages, the bad boy Pistons, that sort of thing. But I don't agree. I would actually be more inclined to agree with you than I would that take.
And if you really want to go back, it's anything pre-shot clock. When they just thought, well, we're going to run the clock out and we're going to win games in the 40s.
But the Lakers pull, and as much as I hate talking about the 80s Lakers just because of Patrick Kinahan, but, the Lakers, Celtics, that whole thing, they pulled the NBA into excitement.
Yeah.
But then the Pistons kind of ruined that excitement, I think people would tell you.
Yeah. The 80s had Showtime, et cetera, et cetera.
Because Showtime wasn't tough, right? Showtime was kind of flashy. Right. And so Jordan comes in, and he's really flashy at the beginning. And then Detroit stops them all by simply punching everybody in the face every time down the floor. And what truly made Jordan great was he adapted to that. That was the most interesting part of that terrible propaganda documentary where he talked about adjusting to the Pistons. That was the most interesting part, where he took an offseason and he's like, you know what? These guys are going to beat the crap out of me, and I got to figure out a way to take it. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
It really summed up the era, in my opinion. But I do think that there is a physical element to basketball that is now lost that I actually miss.
I agree with you. But I literally just did this. I pulled up Basketball Reference. I looked at the Utah Jazz game logs from the year 2001. And I just scrolled halfway down the page as random as a human can do it. And there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game stretch where the Jazz and their opponents combined for one game where they broke 100. Meaning one team finished with more, not combined, but had one game where they finished over 100 points.
I don't think it was 45 to 49.
No, but one game was 95 to 56.
Yeah.
That's the dark ages. That was brutal. Jazz beat the Miami Heat 95-56 on December 18th.
But see, everybody in that era was trying to find the guard to have the ball the whole game.
Right.
And that the Jazz even tried to find that in picture like Carlos Arroyo, but he just didn't turn out to be good enough.
They tried to sign Gilbert Arenas after John left.
They did. They tried to sign Jason Terry.
Corey Maggette. Yeah.
Corey Maggette. They tried to, and I think that we're going back there, Ben. It's funny you bring that up. I really do. Everybody is looking for a guard to dribble the whole game. Or maybe we're on the tail end of that because James Harden's on his way out. But, I mean, that's Luka's whole game.
Yeah.
That's Trae Young's whole game.
Yeah. A little bit of Shea. Shea's
Shea,
a little less selfish,
a lot of Shea.
Yeah.
He has the ball the whole game. And I don't know, maybe Shea, will prove to be the one who evolves it into a really successful thing. But I don't know. I don't think that's the recipe for success. I don't think it was then, and I don't think it is now.
Yeah, I really don't know if it's ever been.
You remember when Isaiah Thomas traded for both Steph Marbury and Steve Francis? I mean, you know who really bought into this, give the ball to the guard the whole game? Isaiah Thomas. The bastion of wisdom that is Isaiah Thomas.
Mr. Rasputin himself.
What do you bet me the Suns trade for Trae Young?
You think they're going to go and find him?
Zeke's like, give me a ball-dominant guard immediately. And then somebody says, but Zeke, you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker who are pretty effective. Get me Trae Young immediately.
We don't need him. Yeah.
Get me Damian Lillard. Give me Lillard on the phone.
I mean, it's why I like basketball. We never got to you wanted to talk about team building yesterday.
Team building, yeah.
And we never really got to it yesterday. But it is interesting. And you can develop this into the Utah Jazz and fold them into this. And, they were pretty awful in the first half yesterday, and they were pretty good in the second half. And a lot of it had to do with what was Keontae George doing? And he played really well in the second half. And yes, he scored 18 points in the second half, and that's easy to say, shots went and that worked. He was off the ball, and when he had the ball, he got off of it quickly. He wasn't dribbling. He was catching the ball, and he was getting guys involved. He ended up with 6 assists and 1 turnover, which is as important a development as his shooting. If he can't shoot, he's not in the NBA, but if he can find a good secondary skill, like creating for others, which he did last night in the second half, he's an okay player. And in fact, he might be a pretty good player. And that's to your point of the ball-dominant guard who's exciting to watch, especially in college, doesn't really translate to a lot of success.
Steph is not a ball-dominant guard. MJ was not a ball-dominant guard. Kobe even, although he might have pushed it a little bit, but he was not a ball-dominant guard. Derek Fisher initiated the offense on that team. So I don't know. I don't think that's the recipe for winning basketball. Boston doesn't play that way.
No.
Golden State didn't play that way. To my knowledge, I mean, LeBron.
It's actually funny you bring this up because I was thinking about this. Why is LeBron still so good right now, and why are the Lakers a lot better than they were last year? LeBron is not touching the ball every possession.
Yeah, and you know why that is? Because he buys into the coach. We'll just see how long that lasts.
But he is off the ball. He's not playing point guard the entire game. They have other guys initiating the offense, and he sometimes just stands in the corner and takes possessions off, which is good, but it's also he doesn't need to touch it every time. He doesn't have to. He's not on a team right now, nor is he in the spot in his career where he needs to touch the ball every possession like he was capable of doing early in his career or earlier in his career. He doesn't need to do it every time.
We'll see when the rubber meets the road. If it comes playoff time, we'll see.
He will touch it more.
Because right now he can make the argument to himself like, oh, it's early in the season. I'm over here. I'll let Anthony Davis cook. That was always our commentary on the Lakers, remember? Like, Anthony Davis put up these incredible first halves and would just disappear because it was LeBron time in the second half, you know? So, I don't know. We'll see. I still don't buy the Lakers. Locke loves the sommelier, by the way, just like you love the sommelier. Tim likes the sommelier, too.
Yep.
He's playing modern basketball. That is what Tim Lacombe said.
Well, he shot threes himself, so he likes guys who shoot threes. And that's what Dalton Knecht did last night and was on fire.
Now, my question, okay, we could play that clip here in a second. We can get to my my team building thing later on in the show or whatever. It's kind of one of those evergreen kind of topics. My question for you, though, is, and I think I know which way you'll answer, is Dalton Knecht a legit piece in the NBA? Like starter on a contender already? Or is this Linus Kleza? Did we just see the next in the long line of absolutely average players that lit the Jazz on fire? Who else? I mean, who else is on that list? There's like at least half a dozen of them.
Yeah, I mean, and every team gets lit up by some rando, you know, but you experience the ones firsthand and you see it and you're like, oh man, Eric Gordon must be the best player in NBA history because he's hung 50 on the Jazz 3 times.
What about Terrence Mann in the playoffs?
Yeah, right, exactly right. And you've never heard of him since, you know, but yes, he has 42 in that game and shoots 10 of 11 from 3.
And I think Linus Kleza is always mentioned because he's probably the most obvious because he was absolutely the definition of an average NBA player.
Yeah.
Below average
yeah,
even.
didn't last in the NBA at all.
But somehow had these career nights against the Jazz. It was so bizarre.
Dalton Knecht's really an interesting study, quote unquote, because, and it actually reflects a lot on college basketball right now as much as it does the NBA, which is, you know, what was Tennessee in the Final Four? He played for Tennessee last year. He was the 17th overall pick by the Lakers. Tennessee was really good. He was the SEC Player of the Year. The other team that was really good was Purdue, and they had a 4-year player who got drafted in the lottery named Zach Edey, who has not been awesome to start the year, is hurt right now. But Dalton Knecht has been really good. And so there's this desire to draft one-and-done guys, the Cody Williamses of the world, the, you know, how much potential can we milk out of you, and overlook some of these older guys because for a while we overcorrected, or maybe we've overcorrected now. We were drafting too many old guys who weren't panning out in the lottery. We were missing on potential and overvaluing 18 points per game in college from guys who had played for 3 or 4 years when they're 23, beating up on 19-year-olds. Of course they're going to. That's what you should, by your 4th year in the NBA or in college, be much better than the incoming freshman. We may have overcorrected now where we glom onto any idea of potential, which is you have the body, you have some athleticism, but the skills haven't really shown through on a consistent basis. And we're selling on guys like Dalton Knecht, Jaime Jaquez, who plays for the Heat and was border runner-up for Rookie of the Year last year, number 3, whatever it was, behind whoever, I can't remember now, but was up there in that conversation. I wonder if we've overcorrected. But is Dalton Knecht a future All-Star? No. He's just he really fits what today's NBA is. He's 6'7" and he shoots the heck out of the ball.
Let me comment on your drafting real quick for a second. Groupthink is dumb.
It's really toxic.
And it's not usually like such blanket ways to look at it are not usually productive, and thus the swings that aren't necessary, neither one proves to be correct. It depends. Are you going to the plate, Ben? And I don't know, in your illustrious baseball career, how much do you play baseball at all, Christian? What kind of hitter were you? I mean, were
bad?
You?
I mean, the nice thing was the tee was holding the ball the entire time.
Yeah, but were you bad? Like I'm hitting a lot of flies to the outfield, bad, or
no
bad?
Power.
Like I'm striking
no
out,
power.
Or what?
I literally only played t-ball, and I couldn't get the ball out of the infield.
So when I went to the plate, I'm a lefty. I'm batting left. I'm a tennis player. I'm a string bean. I'm just trying to get the bat on the ball. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna slap it to the hole,
yeah.
or I'm gonna try and do one of those things because like I'm not roping it to the fence. So I approached my at bat that way. Meanwhile, you know, if Christian played baseball, who's just a Hulk.
Yeah, a hunk, really.
I mean, he's getting in there and he's swinging out of his backside.
He's looking for record-setting home runs.
He's going to try and hit the principal's car in the parking lot. Like, that's the goal. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So when you're drafting,
Sure.
if you're group thinking and you're like, okay, this franchise needs a homer, I'm going to draft the fourth-year guy out of Villanova or whatever.
Right.
Well, the fourth-year guy out of Villanova is probably about as good as they're going to get. They're going to get a little better, because of course they will.
Yeah.
But if they're not, whatever now, they're probably not going to be. So if you're swinging out of your backside like good old Christian, you're probably not going to draft that guy. You're probably going to draft the long athletic freak that can jump out of the gym because you know what? That guy might be Giannis.
Yeah, right.
That might be I just hit the principal's car with the home run ball.
Yeah.
But it also might be Mo Bamba, who we saw on Sunday.
The backup for the Clippers.
And he's terrible.
He's awful, yeah.
He's terrible.
Yep.
But who was it? The Magic who picked him?
Yes.
Or the Magic.
5th overall.
They're like, we're swinging out of our backside.
Yeah.
We're going Christian Esparza on this thing. We're hitting for, look at that athlete. Look at that athlete.
Valuing slugging over batting average.
And he's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's a miss.
Mm-hmm.
But Giannis, I'm sure Milwaukee was like, good, look at this guy. This guy is 7 feet tall.
Right.
He just jumped over the backstand.
Right.
Holy moly.
And
they picked him in the teens. You know what I mean? And like a huge, but my point being, sorry, I'm windy about this. But me, if I'm just trying to slap it to the gap, I'm picking Dalton Knecht if I'm the Lakers.
Yeah. And
because the Lakers need one thing. One. That's it. And Knecht, by the way, can't do anything else.
Yeah. He's not a great anything else
His
guy.
lateral quickness makes him the pigeon defensively. He can't dribble.
Yeah.
He can't pass. He can do one thing. But it just happens to be the one thing that the Lakers actually need and have been desperate for the entire time LeBron has been there.
Yeah.
And that's he can stand there and shoot, and you have to spread the floor to guard him so Anthony Davis and LeBron have room to work. He is what they needed. They needed a pull single between the second baseman and the first baseman to get the runner at third home.
Because they already have home run hitters. They didn't
need
add
a home
another
run.
home run hitter. Yeah.
But if you're the Jazz and you pick Dalton Knecht, you could make an argument that he doesn't even fit into the Jazz window.
Correct. Right.
You know what I mean?
Because he is 23 years old.
So Danny's picking 9. Well, he's going Esparza on that thing.
Right.
Give me the athlete. I got half a decade to develop him.
Yeah, the Jazz don't care that Cody Williams
They
isn't
don't
hitting home
care.
runs right now. You're right.
LeBron is going to be collecting Social Security by the time Cody Williams weighs 215 pounds.
But the problem for the Lakers, and this is what they did last year, they draft a rookie named Jalen Hood-Schifino, who you've never heard of and will only ever hear of if he gets traded to the Jazz because they give up on him. And the Jazz is like, sure, we'll take a chance on your second-year guard, whatever. But they drafted him in the 15th, right outside of the lottery, 16th, right around Keontae George. They pass on Jaime Jaquez to get him when they don't need a guy. They don't need a true freshman point guard to step in and win the job.
Yeah.
That's not what they needed. They needed Jaime Jaquez, who would have been fantastic, or now Dalton Knecht.
Right.
And so they did learn from that mistake.
That's why when people go, well, he was. You heard LeBron do it last night in the postgame. Well, he was the 17th pick. 16 teams passed on him or whatever. It's like, well, I guess you're technically right. But 16 teams were looking for something else behind besides this stiff who just happens to be able to shoot the ball. So whatever.
It's also the reason why Kyle Filipowski is on the Jazz with the 32nd overall pick. He is a double. He's a stand-up double. The odds of him becoming a home run hitter are really slim, even though he's got some great pieces, 7 feet tall, can pass, might shoot, might not. But he's a double. He's a single. He's not a home run. Now, he's a home run if you get him in the second round and he makes the league, but he's not going to be the
he's
guy.
He's not a
that
home run
pushes you over
player.
the
That's
top.
not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about value.
Right.
I'm talking about
home run hitter.
Home run hitter. Like I'm talking about perennial all-star.
Right. In fact, I've got an article at KSLSports.com trying to figure out what Kyle Filipowski's NBA comp is, which I know is always a dangerous game. And it's like, it really is more in the conversation of Kelly Olynyk and Nicholas Batum than it is Kevin Durant and other guys who are 7 feet tall who shoot. But by the way, Nicholas Batum and Kelly Olynyk have been in the NBA for 15 years.
I know we're lining up to love Filipowski, but I think he could be in Europe in 2 years. I'm not sold that he's any sort of double. I think he looks good now. I think for all things considering, I think he has a really interesting skill set. And fortunate for him, I think the NBA is evolving around him as a type of player, which I think gives him a little bit of an advantage. I think he can guard better than I thought he could, which is really interesting because I thought he would be extraordinarily vulnerable. But once again, you've got a guy that you're projecting to be a double who can't shoot free throws.
Yeah.
Start with making free throws.
Yeah.
He's out there jacking threes. It's like, just move it in and make your free throws, bro. You want to stay on the floor in the NBA, make your free throws. But I get your point.
Yeah.
And so if you're in a position as a franchise where you can swing for the fence, then don't take Dalton Knecht. Him at his best, and that's if he learns to dribble and somehow is serviceable defensively, which I think is a long shot. He's the 5th best player on your team.
Right.
4th best player. If you're a legit, I've said this before. I don't think it'll happen, especially now, unfortunately. But like Taylor Hendricks is the 1st best player on your team if it works out.
Right. Same with Cody.
Same with Cody. They're the 1st best player on your team if it works out on a contending team. So, I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for. And the Lakers made a smart pick with Dalton Knecht. It might be the first smart thing they've done in quite some time.
But you know what? They also drafted a guy in 2018. He was in the 2nd round, who was a shooting specialist, who was an older player who had been on a really good team in college as well. And his name is Svi Mykhailiuk, and he plays for the Utah Jazz now and has been traded 5 times, which, as I was watching, and look, Dalton was awesome last night. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from him being exactly what the Lakers needed and being an awesome fit, et cetera, et cetera. But, and I didn't even see like a lot of Jazz people last night on social media being like, why didn't you draft Dalton Knecht? That was idiotic. It was just that, like, A, those guys are around. You could have put Svi Mykhailiuk in that same role yesterday. He's a great shooter and would have done similar things for the Lakers. It is about how you build your team. What are you looking for?
Now, let's talk about team building later, honestly, because it is the most interesting thing about the Jazz right now.
Of course.
They're in the middle of team building. And I think there are a lot of lessons out there, actually. Not many to take from the Lakers, if I'm being honest.
Oh, no, but you know what? The most interesting team right now in the NBA, well, not the Cavaliers, but it is probably the Philadelphia 76ers. And how they built their team is a thing that a lot of people adopted as how you should build your team. And you're learning the hard way that it might not work.
See, I wouldn't draw that lesson from the Sixers at all.
Oh, no. You clearly now you shouldn't.
But
teams have tried.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Let's get to that. Stay tuned. We'll have more next. We've got top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. What you got Wednesday is coming up at 11:30. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
The only place I like to drink ginger ale is on an airplane.
Isn't that the truth?
Give me the ginger ale.
For some reason on a plane, it's like, ooh, ginger ale sounds great now.
Give me a ginger ale. Also, when you come back through, could you give me the Bloody Mary mix? Not a Bloody Mary. Give me the mix.
What do you do with the mix?
You just drink it because it's basically like spicy V8.
Oh.
I want to talk to a stranger with bad breath on the plane.
I don't have time to dive into why you like spicy V8.
I'm telling you, because it's
Something's wrong
low
with
in
you.
sodium.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about the Hercules Hero of the Week. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contests. Then listen on Thursdays to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. All right, time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. 2 locations to serve you. One on Winchester Street across from Fashion Place Mall, the other at Traverse Mountain in Lehigh. By the way, find yourself a job that just requires you to sit there and look dumb. Like you don't have to act or talk or do anything. Just look like a moron.
Because I look dumb, but I do have to talk.
That's basically what I do. I chime in every once in a while.
No, you're
I kind of
good.
just sit here
and
like AJ.
You look very intelligent.
But AJ Hawk's not pushing any buttons. He's not keeping time for anybody. He just kind of smiles sometimes and looks around.
Never does anything but sit there and look dumb.
It's a good life.
And no offense, he could be extremely intelligent. He doesn't look it. I don't know what smart people look like, but it's not that.
It's good.
Is that fair?
It's good analysis. Yeah.
I mean, that's unfair, of course, but...
No, it's fair.
I mean, if he had something to say, he'd probably talk more, right?
If Pat McAfee thought he had something to say, he would let him talk more.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. If the people at ESPN thought he had more to say, they would say, we need more Pat.
Our Pitt's got like
or more AJ. Yeah, nobody does.
Pitt's got like 16 people on that show.
Right.
Yeah.
They let that guy with the stupid hat and the curly hair talk all the time.
Again, Ben and I have never heard a word of this show. We just see it every day. We've never heard it audibly ever. At least I haven't. But yet it's on in the background every day. So we've got the visual critique of the Armpit McAfee show.
And the thing we know is Pat's always moving around and talking, and AJ's just sitting there at the mic.
Looking dumb. All right, what's number one?
Number 1, BYU. They fell 8 spots in the latest college football playoff rankings.
This was so predictable. I don't know why the College Football Playoff Committee hates BYU and why they just could not wait to hammer them. And look, this is a particularly bad loss and clearly the worst loss of college football playoff teams this past week. You lost to a 3-6 team at home. It's a bad loss. And yes, we can say Kansas is much better than they were playing at the beginning of the year, et cetera, but you were undefeated. That's what you had going for you, and you lost to a team that is probably not going to go to a bowl game. It's bad. I get why you dropped them, but it just felt like it could have been Arizona State. It could have been Kansas State. Whoever the loss was going to be for BYU, the College Football Playoff Committee was going to drop them to the last possible spot in the College Football Playoff, and it's exactly what they did. In fact, they've got them ranked 14th, technically out of the playoff, but because they're projecting BYU to win the Big 12, it's the only Big 12 team in the College Football Playoff. So they have to put them at 12.
They lost the bye, by the way, the projected bye.
They would lose the bye
Boise
because
State takes that spot.
It goes to the 4 highest-ranked conference champions, regardless of P4 or whatever. And obviously, Boise State is the overwhelming favorite to win the Mountain West Conference. And if they do that and are ranked above BYU, they would get that 4th seed.
This is an unfair criticism of Christian, considering he asked if the top 3 stories look good for today. But I'm quite angry at him for putting this on the list.
Because it's designed specifically to do this?
This is such a roaring waste of time that makes me so angry just to think about. Not that BYU is dropped necessarily, that they have this poll to begin with, and how truly foolish it is because it doesn't matter at all. At least because I'm pro AP poll.
Uh-huh.
There's a drop Hans and Scotty play about it. I'm pro coaches poll. It's good for what polls are usually good for. A snapshot of the moment given a wide sample, right? Hopefully you take the opinion of 200 sports writers,
right,
whatever the AP poll is. The consensus comes out and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of accurate. That's the point, right? A committee is a handful of bozos who just make the ultimate decision, make that determination, whatever the criteria it is. The point is to put it in their hands. Anyway, point being, I don't understand why anybody cares about this until the last week, 1. 2, I don't understand why you would create a system where you're setting precedent for yourself that you're going to break.
Yes.
Does that make any sense? Have you ever had something in your personal life where you're like, okay, I don't want to set the precedent that this is me, that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of time? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to set that precedent or whatever. Why would I set a precedent that I have no intention of keeping? Last year, they were just going to boot Florida State regardless of the circumstance. They erased the whole season.
Right.
They said this is a one-man team, and that one man is hurt. So we don't care about anything else, and we're going to prioritize, I don't know, what was the excuse at the time? Get the 4 best teams.
Yeah, 4 best teams.
Their criteria always changes. It's not consistent. why on earth would you set precedents in week 9 that you're totally going to throw into the garbage can? I mean, it makes no sense. It seems like a waste of everyone's time. And I don't know why we pay attention to it.
It is fodder for fodder's sake.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, I'm on sports radio, all right? But that doesn't mean I can't complain about it. It's stupid.
But as we've said a lot of times, they truly are making it up as they go. That's what you
Absolutely.
have to realize. This idea that it's a precedent, there's no precedent because they don't believe in precedent. Precedent implies you will repeat that. It's going to be a pattern. Precedent means something you will do again. They're not going to. They will just make it up as they go every time. And you can look at Alabama jumped Miami. Alabama has 2 losses. Miami has 1. Miami was on a bye week. Alabama beat Mercer, and they jumped Alabama 3 spots. Why? Because it's good for the fodder. It has no bearing on what actually happened in college football over the weekend.
But what was the dominant conversation when it came out here locally? What? BYU's behind SMU?
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to JJ and Alex. Alex, they talked about it when it was announced. Then he had to take a walk in the hall during the break, and he came back in and he said, I had to take a break to see if I was still mad. And you know what? I'm still angry. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Because now BYU could never jump SMU ever again, or SMU gets taken. No, it's not. It's fake. It's fake news, Ben.
Yeah.
It's fake news.
But see, SMU does close the season with Virginia and Cal, so they should win out.
2 powerhouses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the creme de la creme of the Atlantic Coast Conference right there.
I want to say ACC, Cal. Virginia at least is kind of makes sense.
They count.
Boise State closes the season. These are the non-P5 teams
Right.
that are in front of P4 teams that are in front of BYU. Boise State closes the season with Wyoming and Oregon State. So expect them to go undefeated as well.
And if BYU wins the Big 12, guess what? They're going to be in.
Yeah, they will. That's all you got to do. Again, just win your conference. Beat Arizona State first.
Is Condi Rice still on the committee?
I don't think so. I think she's left.
We picked the dumbest cats to put in the wall. Next.
Number 2, the Jazz could not find a way to stop Dalton Knecht last night, and Will Hardy had something to say.
It seemed like everybody in the gym knew that Dalton Knecht was going to shoot the next shot, with the exception of a few people. The problem was that those few people were on our team.
That was such a Frank Layden quote. If you just read it and don't hear Will Hardy's voice and you put that in, said a Jazz coach said that, you would think that was a Frank Layden.
His deadpan is really funny.
He is so funny.
That was the line of the season so far.
Yeah. He had masterpiece of
last
year.
That was a masterpiece of dog shit.
But this was his new. This is a great line.
Well, this was way less biting. This was much more funny. Because it was true.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow the same guy shot the ball over and over and over
And he
again.
has harped on it a lot. He
Yeah.
has said this. Sometimes you got to recognize you're playing pickup basketball, and everybody on the court. When you play pickup basketball, if one guy hits 2 threes in a row, you realize, all right, guess we can't let that guy cross half court without guarding him. And the Jazz are fixated on continuing to switch or whatever they were doing, and nobody was fighting over a screen to get to connect. So we kept getting open looks.
How about this? Make him dribble.
Something.
Just make him,
don't
make him
hand
bounce
him
it.
off on the off-ball screen.
Yeah, right. Figure out a way to not let him stand there and shoot.
Yeah. And, this was a borderline mockery of basketball, but you remember the performance. Remember Rodney Hood going off against the Lakers in the first half? I think he had something like, I'd have to go back. He had 28 points or something crazy.
Uh-huh.
And Kobe said, all right, enough of that. I don't care. We're going to lose this game. I'm not going to play a real system. What I'm not going to do is get embarrassed by Rodney Hood. And Kobe locked up Rodney Hood in the second half. I don't think Rodney scored at all in the second half because Kobe face guarded him for the final 24 minutes of the game. He just said, you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And it lost the Lakers the game, but it did establish, a term we're having fun using right now, a precedent that you're not going to get embarrassed, especially not going to get embarrassed by randos like Rodney Hood or Dalton Knecht.
A rookie.
Yeah, a rookie. I think Rodney might have been in his second year. But regardless, they set up this idea that we're not going to fall for that. We're going to take away the thing they're doing well. And if they still beat us, fine. But we're going to change what they are able to do. And the Jazz did a really bad job of that.
I'm not going to get beat by no rook.
Right.
I'm not going to go out like this. Yeah, I agree. And obviously Will Hardy did too. But you know what? Young teams do dumb stuff. I mean, I don't know. Remember how the Jazz could not get last-second fouling right? Was that last year or 2 years ago? Remember that where there was like 4 games in a row where they just totally butchered the last-second fouling scenarios? Like in complete opposite ways. Fouling when they shouldn't have and then not fouling when they should have fouled. Like, it was just brutal. You know, young teams, they do dumb stuff.
Yeah. Young teams are bad.
Right. Like,
young teams are bad.
Yeah. Like a vet is like, we're not going to let this guy beat it. Like a rookie, 17th pick. I'm not going to let that guy beat us, whether he's good or not. That's going to be the attitude.
But the Jazz see all these young players as peers because they're so young, so they don't view it that way. There's not like respect on the line. Cody Williams doesn't care if Dalton Knecht hits 8 threes. It's like, well, yeah, I saw him pre-draft. He was really good.
Dude, listen, by the way, quick side note, any critique on Cody Williams that has to do with like him being a bust or something like that, I'm going to completely ignore you and disregard your opinion.
Yeah.
Because he weighs 110 pounds.
Yeah.
And there's no chance you can compete at the NBA at his body.
Right.
And he's not 7 feet tall like Kevin Durant either. I mean, he's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's got to be, what was MJ at his prime? Probably like, I mean, a lean 210. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's got Anthony
Cody's
Edwards.
got like 30 pounds to go till he gets there.
Jordan had Anthony Edwards' body. Look at how big Anthony Edwards is.
Right.
Yeah, huge person.
And he just gets pushed around out there. Yeah. I mean, it's not fair to be like, oh, this guy doesn't have it.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he's ever promised to get there, but judging him right now is silly.
Is unfair. All right, next.
Number 3, the Los Angeles Sparks hired Utah's Lynne Roberts as their new head coach.
Yep, she quit on the team, Ben.
This is crazy because, they're 5 games into the season. Now, the problem is the WNBA plays in the summer, and college basketball's played in the fall, winter, and spring. So what choice do you have? If you're going to hire a coach from the college ranks, you're going to steal somebody in the middle of their campaign, and that's what happened.
Listen, okay, I understand why football games start at 8:30 on a Thursday. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that I have to like it. I understand why they play women's basketball in the summer. I do. But there's a lot of like side effects to that really stink. And I don't know. People don't seem to value that or care. I mean, the fact, honestly, and nobody talked about this, the fact that Caitlin Clark had to go from an NCAA season right into a WNBA season is...
Season wraps in March. The draft is 2 days after the end of the college basketball tournament, and then training camp starts a week later.
Yeah, we are playing by April?
Yeah.
May?
Maybe May, yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I get why they put it in the summer. It doesn't mean I have to like it. I feel really bad. I made a joke about quitting on the team. Like, life is more complex than that. But unfortunately, that's the circumstance that she was dealt. You quit on your team.
Yeah.
Or you pass on this opportunity that she obviously wanted. That's really unfair to her. I actually feel really bad about that for her. I'm glad they replaced her with somebody on their staff so the team can have a little continuity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming her per se, but that really stinks. There's a bunch of athletes today that are like, we came here to play for this coach.
I left home or whatever to go live in Salt Lake for 4 years because I trusted Lynne Roberts. And again, I'm not blaming her. She
that's
has to
not
do
the
it.
point.
You have to take this job. But some kid made that investment.
Right.
And
that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That does suck. You're right.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. Again, I'm not criticizing her.
Right. That's a great job. I mean, she's the head coach of the Sparks, and the Sparks haven't been what they were early on when they had Lisa Leslie, et cetera.
They should bring her back out of retirement.
But put her back out there.
Lisa could still ball, I bet.
She's still tall. But it's a cool job. They've got the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. They just had the lottery earlier this week. So they've got some talent.
Feel bad for the Utah women's basketball team today. That sucks.
Yep.
Sucks for them. All right, we'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. Don't forget What You Got Wednesday at 11:30, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
It's what you want.
Never-ending Story is more compelling than Short Circuit.
No.
Stop it.
No, stop.
Never-ending Story would win a poll against Short Circuit. Guarantee you. I can't even believe I'm putting this poll together. How do you spell circuit?
By the way, I almost hope...
Do what you feel is right, listener.
I almost hope Never Ending Story wins, because if Short Circuit wins, we're going to lose you for the rest of the show. Show memorandum. Let's just euthanize Short Circuit. My guy is as upset as any time I've ever seen him in the history of this show.
Why? Because we speak truth?
No more Short Circuit. Take Johnny 5 and put a crowbar to his head. He's done. Disassemble Johnny 5.
No disassemble!
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, this segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free and home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows. Ben, it is Wednesday, meaning it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. Caller number 12 wins a pair of tickets to go see the Goo Goo Dolls with Dashboard Confessional Summer Anthem Tour 2025 at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 26th. Tickets go on sale on Friday, November 22nd at 10 a.m. at livenation.com, or, of course, be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. I'm just a mess today, Ben. I'm sorry. I owe you an apology.
We'll get through it.
We're going to get to our conversation about team building coming up in the next segment. But I told you I was walking to my car after the game last night. I was walking fast because it was cold and I was tired
really
and
late.
I was ready to go home.
Yeah.
And I tripped over just a seam in the concrete and I took a bad spill. And I'm so sore. Like, I don't know why my chest hurts.
No.
But my chest hurts.
Strained a muscle. Yeah.
My wrists hurt.
Bruised rib.
And I told you, it wasn't like one of those where I was losing my balance and fell over. Like, I went from walking briskly to peeling myself off the cement.
In no time.
In no time at all. And I didn't hit my head, thank goodness. And but I was carrying a coffee cup.
Yeah, you're not scraped up.
No, I'm fine. I mean, I didn't have to go to the ER or anything. But it is just like, I'm 43 now. I couldn't move in the middle of the night without being like, like wincing in pain. Tried to pick my 3-year-old up to give her a hug this morning. It was like, oh. And I just knocked over my coffee cup. Don't worry, engineering.
There's a lid.
I didn't spill
Not a
it.
drop spilled.
There's nothing spilled. But I'm just a bit of a mess, I think. Like, it's not just my physicalness, but it's like my overall aura.
What time did you leave? Before midnight?
No, it was right around midnight.
Yeah.
After maybe, right
Because the game wrapped like 11:15. Because of the cup play, and everyone's trying to extend their lead because they end up doing scoring by aggregate, point differential. If there's a tie, winning by as many points as possible is a big deal.
It was pretty close to 11. It was earlier than 11.
But so the Jazz kept trying to get stops because they were trying to win the game, trying to get back into the game, and the Lakers kept calling timeouts to run plays late to try and score, and so the game just kept going late.
It sure did.
Out pretty
but
long.
what you don't realize is we were on a clip to finish it pretty quick, and then it hit that roadblock.
Correct.
Although the Lakers did take something crazy like 30 free throws.
You know what? I'm not selling the Jazz to anybody. That's not my job. I do like, as I've watched this team, they have not quit. Now, they're not.
Oh, no.
They're not
no.
good. They're 3-11, and they are every bit of 3-11. They are not good. But back-to-back games, they've been down 20, which is why they're 3-11.
They were down 25 against the Lakers.
And they have battled back against the Clippers. They were down 7 with the ball with like 3 minutes left. You make a 3, and you have a game on your hands. Jazz, I think, had the ball down 6 late in the fourth quarter here again, which is kind of like, you don't think they're going to win, but a couple things go their way, and they've played hard. And I am at least appreciating that they aren't checking out at halftime and not stepping out to play again. They are playing hard.
It'd be easy to go away in these games. It'd be so easy to go away. I do think it says something that they don't. And you know what? Keontae George hasn't had the greatest season so far, but in 2 games in a row now, he's faced adversity in the first half and come out and played hard and had good second halves. He had a bagel on the board last night in the first half.
He was awful in the first half.
0 for 4?
Yeah.
And what did he finish with, 18?
18, 6 assists, and 1 turnover, and shot well. Like, it was on fire in the second half.
And played his butt off.
You and I did this game together. Remember the Jazz lost by 50 to Toronto?
Oh, yeah.
We did the pre-half and post together.
That was great.
It was like a weird midday Sunday game. But the hard part about the end of the Jazz era with Rudy and Donovan was that team quit on itself so often, where they would have double-digit leads. The game would get close, and as Dwayne Wade famously said, they don't have another gear. They don't have a backstop. They would just quit. They would give up on each other. They all thought they could do it individually, and they blew these double-digit leads, and you could tell that the system wasn't going to get fixed. It wasn't going to work out with that group together. That was more painful to watch, in my opinion, than this team.
Yeah, those guys went out in the second half and tried to pour it on. They scored, 40? What did they score in the fourth quarter? 43 points?
The Jazz did?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't look at the box score by quarter. That's
they
impressive.
outscored the Lakers 43-27.
Yeah, they tried. They really played hard.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Jazz coming up next. We'll talk about team building. I think you can actually apply it to a lot of different sports, but specifically the Jazz, it is interesting where they're at. So we'll talk about that coming up right around the corner. It is Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.